It's season 1, episode 3 of Being Stuck in a Rut, and this time I'm stuck in a rut with Elana. If you haven't followed her yet on social media, it's Meta Method, which and you were just telling me a bit about Meta Method. Can you tell everyone else what Meta Method is? It's very cool.
Thank you. So the Meta Method is a dance practice using the natural elements fire, water, earth, and air to essentially get to our meta state inside of ourselves and just have a beautiful daily practice and connect with nature and ourselves.
How did you find this Meta Method? Like, how did you one day just wake up and go, you know what, I think I want to do this?
I think I'm going to dance the elements today. Yeah. It was definitely a journey, and I felt like I always had this inner fire in me, and when I would dance, that's when I dropped into the deepest place of confidence and self-trust in myself.
Yeah.
And then being in the dance scene and auditioning and seeing the competition and the judgment and having to constantly compare myself to other women, I was like, this is not where my dance is. And so between seeing like my no within auditions and dance and dropping into a deeper meditation practice, I found this authentic connection with dance and the elements.
Amazing. Okay, so stuck in a rut. Rut number 1. Maybe you don't have experience with being a rut. You don't seem like a depressed person. Maybe you have friends that
I definitely get in ruts though, but
okay,
maybe
so
not like depressed, but
some kind of a rut. Maybe it's a mad rut.
Yeah.
What would be the first thing that you would tell me or your friend or yourself to do to get out of a rut?
I would say, because I did this yesterday, is to go out in nature. I think that is an incredible place to just like lay on the ground and cry and allow ourselves to go through our emotions. Like go to a place where no one else is around. If you need to go to the top of a mountain and just roar and yell and get it out, like move through the emotion that wants to be expressed. Because I feel so much, especially as women, we tend to suppress our emotions. Like you're not allowed to get angry. Don't, tell someone that was inappropriate or how they mistreated you per se. And we contain a lot in, and I think to be in a place where we can kind of explore and meeting the range of our wildness, that to me is something that is very supportive.
So tell me, obviously you love the earth, nature, that kind of thing. You're very into being your authentic self and being in your womanness. How did you get to this point? I mean, there must have been something that happened that made you go this way. I mean, you don't just wake up one day and that's there. So what was the thing? Like, what's the thing that happened? If you want to talk about it, maybe you don't, I don't know.
I mean, what's coming to me right now is I definitely came into this world with something. I was angry, violent, and hurting.
Yeah.
Why? I don't know, but it was there and it was very active. And I would kick and scream and have temper tantrums, kind of trying to explore what was even bothering me. I didn't always know. And it was through activities of soccer and dance and these other forms that really I found peace within myself. But also, my mom used to take me to the parks anytime I would have these fits and be in a rut, which it calmed me. And then even dancing with the elements and that progression, just that is a reminder that to this idea that maybe we are all connected. Maybe there is this this peace when I know I can connect to myself and ground that into action.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And so obviously anger is a big thing that you've worked through. And I mean, a lot of people express their pain in anxiety, depression, whatever, but yours is based in anger. What's another thing that you've done to calm yourself down or to get to a place of peace, which would be another rut number 2? What would you do to get out of that thing, aside from being in nature and dancing, which you've already said?
Well, just to kind of piece that together, having a morning practice is key.
So what does a morning practice entail?
Meditation, movement, and writing. And for anybody, it can be what feels good. Like, meet yourself where you're at. Don't, because I'm saying that's what I do, instantly you're like, all right, I'm going to push for that. It's what inspires you. How can you show up for you first thing in the morning before you turn on your cell phone, before you're already getting all these messages that you need to respond to and showing up for others before ourselves. And I think that is one of the greatest challenges that we have, that we always think we need to be putting out rather than putting in.
Yeah.
And so that, making sure that we're connecting with ourselves. Another thing that I love to do, maybe this is number 3, how to get out. I love getting out of the shower, and showering, I feel like there's this whole opportunity to shift my mindset, and then also rubbing myself with coconut oil naked and putting on music, sometimes just like really being in my headphones and letting myself feel the power of just loving my body. And loving my body can reframe my whole mindset of how I'm going to go about my day.
Yeah. I think one of the things that I always advise anyone who ever calls me is when they call me having a bad day, I say, okay, go home, take a bath, put on a face mask, a foot mask, a hair mask, or whatever mask you can find, and a thick lotion. And at least if your problems are still there tomorrow, you wake up looking a little bit better.
Exactly.
Okay, number 4. What's next?
Can I say masturbation?
Yes, you can. You can say whatever you want. It's my show, and I'm allowing you to. So that's the kind of thing that people don't talk about.
Right.
Like, obviously.
Let's talk about masturbation. I think as women, is this just for women? Is this for everybody?
It's for everybody. It's going on my Facebook page and all my social media, but it's for everybody.
Fantastic.
Anyone might want to do that, I feel like.
And masturbation with purpose, like giving it an intention, like to get yourself out of a rut, to connect with ourselves and our pleasure, and to own our pleasure, to not feel shame or guilt around that, but to own it, knowing that I am doing this to generate positivity, love, acceptance, appreciation, compassion, gratitude, whatever that is, and like bring that into this vigorating pleasure that stimulates the body.
I think that's amazing. I'm going to do that right now.
Yes. Turned on.
No, not doing that right now. But you made me feel like I should go quickly to the bathroom. Just to get myself a little bit more into my body and like seated from that place of like, okay, whatever. Okay, number 5, aside from masturbation.
Number 5. We talked about the practice, so I was going to say writing is a great one.
It gets hard eventually, and that's when the real emotions start coming out.
I would say be vulnerable, like connecting with a friend that...
Like how vulnerable do you get when you call your friends? Do you tell them like the real truth?
Yeah, I tell them.
Or do you just tell them the PR truth?
Well, I have to like sneak my way in, so it's not like all at once.
You won't have many friends if you get that. No, you will. I promise you will.
But there's a permission that I give another friend when I show up in my vulnerability and rawness to them. They know that they then have that pass to do the same. And those are the relationships that I see going down and down and down, not in a negative down, but in a depth of like growing roots of trust. And seeing that when I know I can feel safe, being vulnerable and authentic with where I'm at. And I think as women, we want that from each other. Like I would want my girlfriends to call me and see that they're safe here and they can trust, and I can give them advice, or just listening. Even listening can be the greatest healing.
I think one of the things that a lot of women face, especially people that I know, and a lot of the conversations I overhear, is that you can't trust other women.
Yeah.
That you can't reach out to them, you can't speak to them, and that really ultimately you'll be betrayed. Is this something that you've experienced? Because it doesn't sound like it. You sound like you've just always have these great open experiences, but in reality, I mean, I think more often than not, I've had situations where it hasn't worked out in that way, where I've divulged everything to someone and given them everything, and what comes back is nothing. So what about, have you experienced that?
This is why I'm so passionate about it, is because my greatest work lives in this subject.
Yeah.
Where my greatest fears have been approaching women because of the competition and my story. I'm like, I'm not intimidating. I'm not here to steal your boyfriend, right? And that in itself, creating these walls and barriers about letting me even be self-expressive around other women.
Yeah.
And because of that, that is why I've entered a lot of work with women to see who are we when we rip off the judgment, the competition, the shame, the insecurities, to really be vulnerable and authentic.
That's amazing.
And it's work. It is not an easy thing, and it takes two to tango, maybe even
Obviously,
some more. But to start dropping into that conversation, maybe it's that conversation before, oh my God, all this stuff.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
and so you can meet on that foundation of like, okay, this is what it means to show up for you, where this isn't gossip. It's not about me talking behind your back after you've been honest with me, but you've asked me to step up to the plate in a completely different way, and I'm going to practice that because I might not know as a woman to do that because, you know,
That's
in our
not what
society,
we're
we're
not
taught to
taught that.
compare and compete. I mean, look at the magazines. It's who's wearing this dress better.
Yeah, I've never actually thought about that, but that's true. Yeah, I've been in one of those, and I didn't like the way it felt when I saw it.
Yeah.
It did not make me feel good about
No,
myself.
it's just like, look at these two badass bitches wearing these dresses.
Yeah.
That's, yeah.
And now I already know a little bit about you, but I want to share a little bit about Wild Vessel. This is something that my friend and dear partner in all my businesses these days has been bragging to me about since I literally met her. That's the first thing that came out of her mouth was, you need to do this. Tell me a little bit about it, because it seems like it's transformative for her at least.
It's definitely designed to be transformative, so that's good. It is an immersive experience that's designed to have these conversations and empower the feminine for all genders. And really, you know, I feel around the Me Too movement and the time is now to really see that we are hungry for these conversations, to see what is out of balance and how can we design this dialogue between the sexes to come together in a sexy and intimate way. So it's about 200 women and 50 men. And think workshop meets dance party meets the best emotional spa day that you've ever had.
A lot of people are not necessarily as open as we are in LA. We're very lucky with that. You know, we are exposed to everything, and I think people are afraid of some of the weirdness here. How do you make that digestible for somebody that has no idea what we're even talking about? Like, how do you explain that in a way that they can actually understand?
Between myself and multiple women talking about it all in our different ways, because there isn't necessarily one way to talk about this. And I think that's what's intimidating and distance people from the conversation, because we are told for things to be so linear and know what I'm getting and know the exact result, where when things are experiential, you go to a space and the experience that you have and Lauren has and I have, they'll all be different. And that mysteriousness that it holds is the beauty, and also the thing that's very intimidating for people.
Yeah.
And we're taking a woo-woo esoteric concept and grounding it and doing our best to let people claim that experience of what this idea of feminine means for themselves, rather than us talking about this, reading it in books. And it's old, and it's, to me, it's not about a hippie movement. It's about, hey, the world is kind of hurting right now, and shit is not fully feeling good for a lot of people. I mean, racism, sexism, classism, these conversations are being more and more divided and segregated.
Yeah.
And I want to create a world where our children don't even know what those terms mean because they don't exist.
Yeah. I think that was why I wanted to create Stuck in a Rut, because I felt as though I was tired of the same conversation being had over and over again. And I wanted to tap into the authenticity of what people are really doing to help themselves. And because a lot of the time people seem to just generate standard answers when you ask, when they're writing online or on their social media, but it's not a real conversation about like actual things. For me, in the last 3 years, some of the things I've done, like sensual movement, I've partaked in sound baths, which was great. Like just weird things. Oh, my favorite is the Korean spa. It is just the most incredible experience of going there and being around women, only women, and being completely authentic in your own body, and being around women of all shapes and sizes. Especially for me, I'm around people who essentially have the perfect body, but to be around real people and just be like, oh wait, none of this even matters. We're just sitting here. We're not even looking weird or feeling weird. It's just, I don't know, it's just a great kind of, as you say, experiential. You can only you can't really explain it to people. You have to experience it to come out on the other side of that journey.
Fully. That's exactly it.
yeah.
Kind of breaking these taboos together.
Yeah, and I feel like people that want it come looking for it. They will cross the boundary when they're ready for it. They will jump over into your little rabbit hole of adventure when they're ready for it. And if you're ready, you're ready. And if you're not, you're just not, I guess.
That's the beautiful thing about it. It's there, and there's a lot of people that I know that have heard about it and aren't ready to enter it yet. And there may be people that come, and after an hour, they're like, this isn't for me, and leave. And it's like, perfect.
Yeah.
They will be back, and it's already affected them in the way that they needed it to.
It's so great. It's so like present. Don't you feel present? I feel present just listening to it. We're all present. They're present. We're present. You're present. And this was the present. Thank you for coming today
oh my
to
gosh,
talk to
what
me.
a gift. Thank you. Just kidding.
It's like, okay, bye. Thanks. I have some stuff to do. Right, number 4.